Well, hello everyone. It is Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, actually 7:01. So that means that it's time to grandstand with Mother Theresa. I hope you've grabbed your favorite snack and your favorite beverage, and you are ready to grandstand with me. I want to thank everyone for tuning in with me on tonight, on this Tuesday night of February, the month of love, the month of our celebrating our heritage, just a month to be thankful for so many things. And again, thank you all for being here with us on tonight. As you are tuning in and as you are getting settled and you're getting that snack and your beverage together, go ahead and text a friend or call a friend or whatever you need to do. Share this live so we can get some more people grandstanding with us on tonight. And I just welcome you once again. Of course, when we're grandstanding or when I'm grandstanding, I'm just, as I say, I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. I am just here to offer some of my life stories, stories of those that are near and dear to me, and also to just share some things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be anything that is so, I would say, profound, but it's just some life applications, everyday strategies, and then, of course, some things that I've experienced in my life. So for those newcomers who is their first time with us as we are grandstanding, hey Mama, hey Sister Sherry, and hello Shekinah. For those, and I think there's somebody else on here, I'm not sure if it's OD or if it's my husband, but whoever it is, again, if you don't say anything to me, I can't necessarily see it. But just thank you all for being here. As I was stating, when if this is your first time, grandstanding was something that God had given to me over a year ago. And basically, it was just to grandstand and to talk about the good things that is happening in my life, and also creating a platform for others. When I say grand, it was because I am a grandparent. And so the grand things that is happening in the lives of my grandchildren, in the lives of my children, and not only just my family, but other families. So God wanted me to create a platform that I could share and then allow people to grandstand. Okay. So, and a lot of people have not, may not be used to using that term the way that God gave it to me, but that's what he gave me. And so I'm going to stick with it. So what are we grandstanding about tonight? Well, I'm glad you asked. We are actually going to kind of stay on the same vein that we were discussing on last week. For those of you all, remember, when I'm grandstanding, I am actually taking chapters from my journal that I created. And again, if you do not have it, you need to go ahead and go to Amazon and pick you up a copy, and you can follow along with me. So what we're going to talk about tonight is actually chapter 37. And chapter 37 is exploring your heritage. What a better month. What not, I'm getting a little bit twisted, but what a great month, such as February, when we celebrate Black History Month, to be really talking about exploring your heritage. And so, hey Nat, and hey Teddy. So let's just kind of jump into it. So on last week, now one of my daughters, I think one of my daughters or someone said, "Mama, hey Ev," that's my niece Ev. I hope the rest of your family is joining on with you. One of my kids, one of the call pep nards, let's just say this. Hey Jackie, said that I talk a lot about my family. And I do, and that is intentional. That is intentional. I talk about my family because, first of all, that's who I know the best, and those are my experiences that they have had with me. And so, but I'm careful with the things that I share because I never want to embarrass my family. I never want to humiliate them. I never want to put them in a situation where I'm not showing them in their best light. But sometimes, you all, we know, and you know, that there are some stories, and we're going to talk about our sharing our stories, but there are some stories in our lives that is not always pleasant, or so we think. They may not be pleasant at the time, and sometimes they're not even pleasant after we've went through them. But I do believe, I'm a firm believer that God gives us every experience in our life so that we can be a witness to someone else. And I can recall, and I'm going to get back to exploring our heritage, but I can recall one time several years ago when I was providing services at the alternative school. This is when I was living in Nacogdoches. And some of the things that we talked about, as a social worker, some of the things that I was sharing with the kids were not anything that I had lived. So it was experiences that I had not lived, but I could tell you what the book said. In theory, I could tell you what, those different things about what I learned in school. And so I met a good friend of mine who she's a lifelong friend. I was able to connect with her at church, and she became one of the speakers that will come out and share, she would share her experiences and her story with my students that were at the alternative school. And let me just tell you, I feel like I, was doing a great job in, being able to have those conversations with the students. But her lived experiences, I've got some, honey, but those lived experiences really, took it up another level because they were able to connect with her. I'm sorry, you all. I'm grandstanding. Sometimes I get a little thirsty. But her lived experiences were those experiences that those particular students needed to hear because she could relate to some of the things that they had experienced. So again, when we're talking about our stories, sometimes the stories and the experiences that God allows us to go through is not necessarily for us, but it's for someone else. So let's talk about exploring your heritage. And if you think that what I'm talking about is right on track, please let me know. Hey, OD. So we're going to talk about exploring our heritage. And OD chimed in at just the right time. You all, on last week, I talked about fellowship, which is where my grandparents lived. And I talked a lot about, my childhood and growing up in fellowship, or growing up going to fellowship on the weekends and just spending a lot of time there. So as I finished and was wrapping up my session on last week, not a session, but my live stream on last week, my cousin OD and his daughter sent me a message, and OD said that he had lots of information that he could share with me about growing up in fellowship. And boy, he was absolutely correct. I talked to OD last night for almost seemed like about 2 hours, and it was the best conversation that I had. He shared with me so many nuggets about fellowship and about my grandparents and my mom and my uncles and my aunties and my cousins and just so many people and his experiences growing up in fellowship. So I told him that we're going to have to finish this conversation because I want to hear more. And hopefully OD will be willing to join me at some point when I come to Nacogdoches and we can do a live recording, because I want you all to hear some of the things that he was sharing with me. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining in. I want you all to hear some of the things that he was sharing with me, because one of the things I will tell you all is that when you grow up knowing your heritage, and I'm back on track now. When you grow up knowing your heritage and knowing your family and knowing the story behind, your family, the roots and where they come from, and all of the little things that go on that happened years and years ago. It first of all, it makes you proud of your family. OD shared so many things with me on last night that it just made me so very proud of the family that I was born into. And you hear stories down through the years, and you hear little tidbits of things, or little, people talk about different things, but you don't really have the whole story. Hey, Renee, you don't have the whole story. And so he was able to shed light on a lot of the things that I have been wondering about. And so because of that, I want to hear more. I want to share more. And I can't wait to share with my mom some of the things that he shared with me. But this is when you are exploring your heritage, it is so very important that first of all, you get the stories from those, the elders in your family. One of the things that we talked about on last night is that so many of our older relatives are no longer with us. So all of the stories and all of the details and all of that good stuff. Hey, Brother Joe, all of that good stuff that they knew that was related to our heritage and our family and who we are, it's all gone. And shame on us that we did not get those stories. Shame on us that we did not take the time to listen and go and inquire. And so some of you all that are on here with me now, you have, if your parents are still with you or any of your relatives that are older, please go and sit at their feet and listen to the stories that they have to tell. Now, sometimes I share with you all that one of my older relatives told me to let sleeping dogs lie, and I pretty much let it alone. But it was stories that we needed to know that he was uncomfortable sharing. But OD was able to shed a little bit of light on some of the stuff that that relatives was not able to share. And that's what it's all about, you all, is getting that family history down and being able to share it with the next generation. We are leaving here, and we are leaving with all of this good information that we need to be sharing to, like, my grandchildren. I want to share my story with my grandchildren, and so then they can share this story. And and my husband has his stories that he needs to share. And guess what, you all, we gotta be willing to talk about it. And one of the things, as you are exploring your heritage, one of the things that I want you all to understand is that sometimes things have happened in our past, in our family, not only our past, but in the past of our, maybe our ancestors. And it may have been shameful. It may have been things that they did that were against illegal, or, against the law, unethical. But guess what? That was their story. And because it was their story, we still need to know about it. One of the things that I do know is that sometimes something that happens in our life, hey Valencia, sometimes the things that happen in our lives can change the whole narrative, or change the whole focus in our lives. It could change how we move and how we operate and how we do things. Just interview and record your elderly family members with your cell phone. Absolutely, that is correct. So yes, definitely do that. But it can change the whole thing of your life. And that's exactly what happened with our family. That, there was a whole change, a shift in our family with, us knowing exactly who we are, and our the birth names that we were given, were changed. And I would say changed to protect the innocent, and maybe not the not so innocent. But guess what? We have to know those stories, because I can say that as I was doing, looking for my ancestors, because I'm one of the genealogists in my family, but I got to a point where I couldn't go any further. I got to a point where it was like it was a block or a brick wall. And the reason why that happened, Reverend Powers, is because the names had been changed to protect the innocent or the not so innocent. So I needed to start looking for a whole different surname. And so, and because I did not have all of the history of that, I was kind of at a stopping point. But let me just tell you again, sometimes the things that happen in our lives, it can, like I said, it can change the path of for generations to come. And it can be good and it can be not so good. One of the things that I shared with you earlier is that as I was listening, I was really so very proud to hear some of the things about my grandparents and about my other relatives that I was not even aware of. And that, and other things that make me know why I, do some of the things that I do, why I love to do certain things. And I know I already knew that my grandmother loved, flowers. I know that my mom loved flowers. Of course, I love flowers and different things like that. So much so that I would dress my girls in flowers. They always had on a flowered dress or flowered something. And growing up, they absolutely hated it. But guess when they told me much later that they didn't like wearing all those flowers, but I loved it. And so, and it came from, hello, Pastor Scott, it came from the fact that my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, they all love flowers. So guess what? I did too. And the other thing that I learned is that, my family, we are strong entrepreneurs. I think just about everybody in my family has been a business owner at some point. And a lot of us, we still are. We have that entrepreneurial spirit that lives within us. And, and OD was sharing with me, he said, where that comes from? He said, it comes from our great grandfather. He said he was always selling something. He said he would go out west and he would go out with one horse or one mule in a covered wagon, and he will come back with all sorts of things. He will come back with two. And so he was always wheeling and dealing. And you know how people say, put some respect on my name. His name was, they called him Mr. George. He was not just known as George. It was Mr. George Stearns. So, the things about how we operate and how we do things is a direct reflection of some of the things that our ancestors did. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely okay. Now, I can say that one of the things that when I talk about the good, there is also some bad. And so one of the things that I do know is that there were some things that I saw, my grandmother and my grandfather and some of my uncles and aunties doing. And if you don't hear uncles and aunties, no disrespect to you. It's just that I know, hey, Jace is our realtor who just helped us with a transaction. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Parker. I knew that there were some things that, like I said, wasn't always something that I wanted to partake in. And so I had to make a decision for me and my family, just like for my mom and her family, is that we were not going to be around so much of the, some of the things. And it's not that we thought that we were better than, it's just that we were trying to, especially when you join the church and you start living a different lifestyle, sometimes you have to pull away from those certain things. It's not that we ever pulled away from our family, but there were certain things that I knew that I could not be attached to. And this is one thing I'm just going to be, brutally honest. And I share with my kids, my children, is that because I know that alcohol and alcoholism is a predisposition, that I never wanted my children to drink. I never wanted that alcohol gene to be woken up in my children. And so what I tried to tell them is that if you never get involved in it, it's something that you don't have to worry about. Now, am I casting, whatever on the rest of my family or whatever? No, absolutely not. But I can say, as for me and my household, we chose to do differently. And that's for everybody. That is for everybody. So again, like I said, just no disrespect, but sometimes you have to just share. And this is my story. And as my granddaughter said, I'm sticking with it. That's my story. And we all have a story. We all have things that we have made decisions about. And so, and if it's your story, then you stick with your story. God gives us all stories, and he gives it to us. He gives it for us to live and to experience. And as we are living and experiencing that story, I often say that sometimes there are detours in our lives that we must absolutely take. Sometimes we don't necessarily want to take a detour because we are in a hurry. We are on a time frame and we want to get there as soon as possible. But do you not know that some of the detours that we take in our lives are absolutely the best detours? Hey, Doris, and a cousin of mine, some of the detours that we take in our lives are the absolute best, has the best scenery ever. And so, and when we take those detours, there are lessons to be learned. And if God had not given us the detour, then that was something that we would have missed, that we would need later on. I'm also a firm believer, again, as we talk about our experiences and the things that we go through, is that God equips us for the task at hand. And he gives us those things by the experiences that we go through. And sometimes, like I said, it may not feel good. It may not even look good. It may not smell good. It may not even taste good. But if you go through it, and I believe that you can definitely go through it. As you're going through it, you continue to pray. You continue to keep your face in his word. You continue to believe. You continue to know that, hey, if God brought me through that thing something else, he can definitely bring me through this. And it becomes your story. It becomes your testimony. It becomes something that you can help someone else to go through or to come through. Because guess what? God doesn't give us these stories and these experiences for us to just sit on them. He does not give it to us for us to keep our mouth closed. He gives it to us so we can share his goodness. He gives them to us so we can be a witness and we can encourage somebody else that's going through. Now, let me tell you, there have been, as I'm talking about my story and I'm talking about exploring your heritage and I'm talking about how that shapes your identity, there have been so many things that I have wondered and I have questioned God about. And I would be like, God, why did you allow this to happen? Well, why did you allow that to happen? And it's okay to question God. I just definitely believe that. Definitely, honey, your testimony that encourages others. And as I was questioning God, God said, I need you to go through this because somebody else is going to need to hear your testimony so you can encourage others. As my husband stated, it's not necessarily for me, but it's definitely building me and developing me, my character and who I am. But it's also for other people. Okay. So as we are going through the things in our lives that God allows us to go through, don't get bitter. Don't get bitter. Get better and go through it with grace and humility. And as we are going through those things, I read a book years ago by Iyanla Vanzant, and it was In the Meantime. And what that book and what she was talking about is that as we are going through different things, it really matters how we go through. Are we going through, with being upset? Are we going through with anger and bitterness and resentment and unforgiveness? Or are we going through knowing that we're going to have the victory on the other side? Are we going through with praying? Are we going through thanking God and just acknowledging God for what he is, for who he is and what he's doing in our lives. And if you're going through with that type of a experience or mindset, then he's going to bring you out, and he's going to bring you out victoriously and with the victory. And you may say, well, Mother Caldwell or Mother Thresa, not everything is a victory. It depends on how you look at it, okay? It really depends on how you look at it. Because now you're going to say, Mother Thresa, I cannot believe you said this. But I love Fantasia, okay? I love Fantasia. Fantasia has a song that says, sometimes you got to lose to win again. I believe that sometimes you got to lose to win again. Okay. And I also believe that sometimes we have to shake things up in order to straighten things out. Another thing that I also believe is no matter what a person has been, they can always choose to be different. So those experiences that we're going through is making us. And as we are remembering our heritage and we are honoring our heritage, don't forget where you come from, okay? Don't forget your forefathers. Don't forget your ancestors who paved the way for us. Don't forget the sacrifices that they made for us. Don't forget the injustices that they suffered so that we could have a better life. Don't forget, the sacrifices and the things that they had to endure so we can have a better life. We cannot ever forget. We cannot ever forget our ancestors. We cannot ever forget the heritage that they have left us and the legacy that they have left us. And so, and as like I say, being a good steward, not only of the things that, we're talking about finances, but you have to be a good steward of your namesake. Okay. So what does your name mean to you? Of course, my mother was a Stearns. My daddy was a Sweat. So what does that mean? What does being a Sweat mean to Thresa? What does that mean to my children? And let me just tell you that being part of the families that God blessed me to be in, I could not have asked for a better family or for better families. I could not have asked to be connected with anyone better than what God connected me with. And it's all because he has a plan. He knows the master plan. He is the master plan. So because he is the master who planned everything, we just have to be able to just walk in it, do what we need to do, and just make sure that we are living the life that is going to be pleasing not only to God, which is that who we should be pleasing to, but also pleasing to yourself. One of the things that I often say, and that's why I say, on Mondays, it's going to be a great day. Even if you wake up and it's not a great day, even if you wake up and you're having, you're not feeling the very best, you can choose to change your day. You can choose to change the mindset that you wake up with. And sometimes you may have to sit there for a little while before you get out of that bed. And after you command your morning and you talk to the Lord for a little bit, then you get up and you get your day started. And then even with that, sometimes we have to go back and say, wait a minute, I need a reset. And I believe in taking 5 deep breaths and totally resetting your whole psyche. And that's what I tell my family. That's what I tell the people around me. My moniker, my signature is take care and breathe. And so, and as we're taking care and breathing, honey, don't play the music, not yet. Okay. As we are taking care, hey, Kirk, as we are taking care and breathing, this is how we reset our day. So if you're having a not so good day, then guess what? You have the power and the energy to reset it. Reset your day and make it to what you want it to be. The thing about it is that no one wants to be around a person who is grouchy, who is grouchy and negative and all of that, because it will have a tendency to bring you down. So nobody wants to be around that. So if you are that, and it could be you, if you are that person, learn how to reset your day. Learn how to reset you, and learn how to take those 5 deep breaths, or get up and walk outside, or do whatever you need to do so you can be better, and you can be better for the people that are around you. So I've talked a lot tonight, and my granddaughter had told me to extend it a little bit, and I told her that I'll see what I can do. I just want you all to know that I have so enjoyed you all grandstanding with Mother Theresa. And so I hope to see you all again on next Tuesday. And I enjoyed everybody. And don't forget what I said about your family. Explore your heritage. Find out a little bit about your family. Talk to those elders that are in your lives. Talk to those people that know a little bit about you and where you come from. Don't let them leave here without getting their story, because you're going to need it. You're going to need those stories. So make sure you get those stories so you can share them with your grandbabies. And then they can share them with their children. And then they can share them with their grandchildren. And if you continue to do that, your legacy lives on and on and on. So thank you all so very much for grandstanding with Mother Theresa. I'll see you back here on next Tuesday. Everybody have a great night. Thank you for the stars, Kurt. And also thank you, Valencia. Thank you, Jace. Thank you, everyone, for joining in with us on tonight. OD, thank you so much. I will be calling you back again so we can finish this conversation. It's going to play again. I'm going to call you back so we can get some more information, and we can learn a little bit more about this family that we call the Stearns and the Porters and the Woodsons and all of that. Hey, Sister Sherry, good night, everybody. You all have a great night. Hey, Sister Deborah. Aunt Betty, I hope you were here with us on tonight. This is Boris's auntie and mama. Thank y'all so very much. You all just don't know what you all do for me, joining me. I appreciate you all. I don't take it for granted. Y'all have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.